my name is Dave Gilbert. I'm covering the Kazoo show for the UC Buyer. It's been a lot of fun, and one of my most fun guests has got to be Crisantos.
Right.
Man, the very famous Crisantos has decided to make an appearance here. He's going to teach people how to sell backwards. What's that mean?
So basically, selling backwards, the way I look at it is sometimes we're all moving to the cloud and we don't know why we're doing it. Everyone says, let's go to the cloud, but why? And, I think what we can see in the industry is that we just saw those recent acquisitions with Tableau and Looker for billions, like not just one, not just two, but like 10, 12, 15 billion, whatever they were sold for. I mean, ridiculous amounts of money. And what that obviously proves to the industry is that data is king. And that, data will help businesses. And just to give you an example, if you think about the Toronto Raptors and the Golden State Warriors, how is it possible that a team with players that we don't even know who they are except maybe one, was able to defeat such a dominant team? And if you think about what the Toronto Raptors did, and I saw a video on it, they used data to build that team.
Moneyball.
I mean, that's really what they did. They used phenomenal sets of data to build that team, and it seemed like it worked. I mean, because I never thought these guys were going to win, and they didn't just beat them; they beat them. Backwards is like looking at what's the end result? What are we trying to do? We're trying to run better businesses.
Yeah.
But in order to have those better businesses and have that data where how do we know what our best performer, why don't we run our businesses like the NBA runs their basketball teams?
Yeah.
Why don't we apply the same logic? We should be having the same type of data on our employees. We're in here, we're trying to make money. We're all trying to drive good businesses, provide, food for our families and everybody. But we need the data to drive these efficiencies and drive these productivity gains. But you need the right business tools in place. You need these APIs from the comms, you need the APIs from the CRM, the APIs from this. And if we can look backwards at what we want first, then we know what we need to buy in order to get there. So that's how
Start with the end in mind. Instead of just selling them voice,
yes,
it's so much bigger than that. And we change the way that business works fundamentally, don't you think?
The APIs unlock so much potential, especially in communications.
Yeah.
Because communications, the data has always been locked in the calls. Either we have phone calls all the time, but we don't capture that data unless we have a call recording. But even if we have a call recording, most people aren't even listening to it. They're not analyzing the data because we didn't have this massive amounts of processing power that we now have with cloud computing, like through the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts, where you can basically put those call recordings, rip them apart, parse them, and analyze all that data.
Yeah.
Communications is going to be it's going to be the most beneficial for ML and AI technologies. I think is the communication industry has the most to gain from machine learning technologies. A proto school would not be able to exist without companies being on the cloud.
Yeah.
So not getting off of their legacy PBX system, moving to hosted voice communications. And I think now a lot of the service providers, they struggle with just maintaining the network infrastructure. And then, let alone, it's how do they solution sell and how do they add value instead of just selling a desk phone?
Right.
And I think that's the biggest struggle. And that's why I'm a big advocate of trying to tell these sales guys and channel guys, start from the end result. Start what is it that you want to achieve?
Yeah.
And instead of just selling a phone, think about the end result. So when we're dealing and talking with these UCaaS sales guys who work for these companies, let's educate them and say, look, instead of just selling a dial tone, let's encompass it in the overall business and how the business can actually work better and have better data. What were the customers talking about? What was the exact issue with those support requests? What were they actually talking about? What was it? Was it slow time? Was it they didn't answer the phone? And if you really understood it and you saw the data, instead of everyone just saying, oh, your support sucks or whatever, not you specifically, but if your support sucks, you actually had data to actually, instead of getting all this emotion and all this stuff, you had data that you could say, okay, this is what I need to fix. The industry as a whole is very established, it's very entrenched, and it's very ingrained in its ways, but the market is pulling them to get out of their comfort zone.
And now we're moving into CPaaS, which is Communication Platform as a Service.
With all the APIs.
And all those APIs, the ability to hook into so much. So if you're a business and you're not looking at this change with a great deal of anticipation about how it might change your business, you're kind of missing it. So that's that's why we're here, to learn more about who's got the goods. And so now, once they do have those goods in their hands, it's up to people like you, Crisantos, to get out there and evangelize the idea that things are going to change for the better for these businesses that lean into the technology.
Even the buyer is not as educated, right? Because the buyer can only do so much, right? They can only do so much research.
Yeah.
And they're just going to go with whoever they feel more comfortable with. And then by the time they get to the buying decision, you know, there's that like 20-yard line that they still got to finish before they get to, and they're going to rely on their intuition to help guide them. Like, who's telling me the truth?
Yeah.
You know, and who
is that trusted advisor?
Which one is that trusted advisor? But 80% of it they've already figured out, and now they just need to figure out, you know, that last 20%, and that's where they're going to come to these trusted advisors, or, you know, and they're going to use their own intuition to figure out who's telling them the truth. And hopefully when they meet that person, they'll be able to relate and connect.
How do they get a hold of you? Because you seem to kind of know this stuff.
Call Dave Gilbert. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on LinkedIn.
Yeah.